Hey, guys, today we are going to be talking about buying the rumor, selling the news when it comes to buying and selling sports cards. Stick around. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all my collectibles friends out there in the universe. I'm pumped. It is football Sunday. I'm excited to watch my Saints take on the Giants at 1 o'clock. And to be frank, I am expecting a victory and I'm probably jinxing it right now. But if we fall to the Giants, I'm going to be in a bad mood for the rest of the week. So I feel like we're getting guys back. We are starting to kind of turn the corner a little bit from an injury perspective. We're getting coaches back that were out. I'm hoping that we're hitting a stretch here where we've got a good little run. But anyway, before I get started, please hit that subscribe button. If you like what you hear, the like button if I'm offering any value to you. I guess hit the dislike button if I'm not offering any value, if you have to. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, guys, I do get a lot of messages and also recently too, viewership has asked for kind of like, can you give some guidance as to maybe trying to get ahead of some of these trends, that we see? And of course, this is always kind of it's tough because nobody can predict the future. And I will start this video just off by saying, I think this is really important, that I am just another talking head on the internet. I'm just another guy talking about sports cards. There are no such thing as sports card experts, investing experts. There's no such thing as that. We can try to project trends. We can try to kind of look at different things. But the reality is sports cards have hit kind of the big bumps over the last 2.5 years, 3 years. So there's not a long history of kind of ups and downs in this particular market. You've got some interesting trends certainly over time where stuff has kind of gone up and down in little bits and increments, but we have not seen the sorts of surges like we've seen over the last 3 years, over the last 20 years, for example. You saw a lot of stagnation and now you're kind of seeing big bumps. So I just want to put that out there. I don't believe there is such thing as sports card experts when it comes to price fluctuations. There are sports card experts when it comes to knowing certain things about sets, certain cards, certain scarcity on certain things. A lot of research goes into all that, as well as history of sports cards and all of that stuff. So let's not get that twisted around. There are sports card experts out there and people that I lean on, mentors, if you will, when I'm trying to understand, particular sets. What's the story behind them? Certain player cards, is this really rare? Is this not rare? So I do have outlets for that, guys that have been doing it for decades. But when it comes to, price fluctuations, that's a fairly new thing. All right. And remember, do a lot of research on this. This is not like I watch a video and I figure this out. This is watch like 100 videos and do like hours and hours and hours of research, and then you can really kind of get some idea of this. I've been studying eBay sold listings and market data and all this stuff really daily for the last 3 years, and I'm still learning every single day. So it just takes a lot of effort. There is no quick learn on this. So definitely do a ton of research before diving in head first. All right, buy the rumor, sell the news. So this is something you might have heard this saying before. The one thing I've noticed though that's kind of interesting when it comes to buying sports cards, sports memorabilia, when it comes to buying the rumor, it's like the market is already, it's already buying the rumor. And what I mean by that is like if you see something where it's like so-and-so player might be traded, there's people I've seen speculation and it makes sense to me, like a Bradley Beal, a prolific scorer that just doesn't play on a very good team. The anticipation of him moving to a better team, the Lakers, moving to the Nets, Karl Anthony Towns, Cat. There's speculation like he's going to go somewhere at some point, and so I'm going to buy his rookie cards and just kind of hold on to him until he gets traded. And that's where people are speculating on, that rumor of a trade or even anticipating the rumor. And I think that is a key thing when it comes to sports cards. You're essentially betting that the rumor is going to come true, or you might be kind of anticipating the rumor. And I think that's where you can really get ahead if you are correct. And so what that is, and again, I think another thing that should be said is following sports and understanding sports, following teams, understanding players is huge with all this stuff, because if you're going to anticipate the rumor, you have to really understand the players, the teams, what's the salary cap? Can they get rid of this player? Would they be able to move this player on the trade market easily? Would they not be able to? Is this player injury prone? Are they not injury prone? These are all sorts of things. Do they have off court, off field issues? Is there a chance they could, and this is a risk with any player, but what's the chances of them, having some sort of off the court issues, that could really kind of jeopardize their career. But anticipating the rumor is really key, because that is something where if you're able to see, 3 steps ahead, or you're trying to project 3 steps ahead, a lot of people, when we talk about the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic and Porzingis, it was, okay, is Porzingis going to get traded? Or are they going to bring help in for Luka? If they bring help in for Luka, does that have an impact on Luka prices? That's a speculation. They ended up not bringing in help, that I saw anyway, not big help for Luka this season. Maybe it's the new coaches coming in. They're going to try to move some pieces around and just try to make it better. Maybe with kid coaching, they think that they're going to get a better result, which could be. It could very well be that maybe they just need to use Porzingis in a different way or whatever. But the point is that there was speculation of, okay, they bring in a big name player that's going to help that player's card prices, and it could also help boost Luka's prices, maybe Porzingis' prices. So if that had happened, then there could have been that opportunity where, okay, prices go up because now there's all this excitement about the Mavericks. They brought in this piece, that's going to help them get to the championship. And that's what everyone, a lot of times it's the narrative. It's more about the narrative than the actual performance. It's the lead up to the actual season. And we see that. You see prices are kind of moving up, and that's when a lot of people are selling, is kind of moving up to the season. Season starts, players play, and stuff kind of balances out. And that's what we see. We've seen kind of a cycle of that over the last couple of years. So something important to watch are free agent pickups for a particular team in any sport, and then also the draft. So you can kind of get an idea if you're watching football, for example, and you've got, you've got a particular quarterback that you like, but the offensive line is terrible. But they go ahead and they draft with their top 10 pick. They've got an offensive, the best tackle in the draft. If that guy works out, the line gets shored up. Maybe that player, maybe that QB has a good season. And so that's an example of kind of draft. Or in basketball, okay, this team picks up, a couple of pieces in the draft, or they got a superstar in the draft. Free agent pickups are always key. For me, I watch a lot of football, NFL football, so I'm always paying attention to free agent pickups. Is that team do I think this team is going to be good, bad, etc.? And so that's where I'll sometimes make little moves here and there, short-term moves, to kind of take advantage of that if I'm right. I don't do a lot of short-term moves, but what I do try to do is I buy more of I like this player long term, but in the short term, I believe they could have some upside as well. So for me, I'm always looking for kind of that trifecta of player I like with short term, long term potential. For me in particular, bad news is good news when it comes to buying. So it might seem kind of counterintuitive or oh, that doesn't make sense, but we talk a lot about FOMO when it comes to buying sports cards, fear of missing out. And a lot of what we see, unfortunately, is when, the players in the news, they're really doing well. Luka's going off. He's scoring 40 points a game and 10 boards and blah, 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 whatever. And his card prices are moving up and everyone's following that up. Everybody's buying that when really that's not the buying opportunity. The buying opportunity is the offseason when no one's talking about it, or maybe it's the World Series when no one's paying attention to that particular sport, whatever the case may be, you're kind of watching for dips, and that's where, I do use Card Ladder and Market Movers. And the purpose for me to do that is to just pay attention to where there could be some sagging in prices for those particular players that I like. So I'm paying attention to, maybe I'm watching 15 players that are currently playing roughly. I would say it's probably about right. Between basketball and football, maybe 15, 20 players that I'm paying attention to. And for particular cards, for particular sets, if there's some dips for whatever reason, those are the times to strike, for me. That's why I pay attention to it. So for Market Movers Card Ladder, if you do want to try those out, there are links in the video description. I do have affiliate links. I do get a little bit of a commission if you sign up through my links. If you don't like it, no worries. If you don't want to try it out, no worries at all. Just throwing it out there. So for players in basketball like Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, these are guys that I pay attention to because they're already proven. I know that Luka Luka is kind of he's kind of that proven prospect. He's a young guy, but he's proven himself. And I think the NBA kind of wants to make him that face of the league with, Giannis and some of these other guys. You've got a handful of guys that they're kind of working that. He's an exciting player. Luka's an exciting player. There is a belief that he is going to be, one of those top 5 players in the NBA. Some already think that he is a top 5 player in the NBA, which you could probably argue he's up there in that 3, maybe 3, 4, 5. Some people would say he's the best player in the NBA. That's all debatable. But the point is that these are guys that I'm watching for. Okay, do the Mavs have a terrible start to the year? Maybe they lose 20 straight games. They didn't get help for Luka. Everyone's upset. There's bad news around the Mavs, essentially. Like, the Mavs are terrible. Is Luka going to be traded? Or is he going to opt out? Is he going to, demand a trade? Whatever the case may be, I'm watching for bad news. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, same thing. Oh, Steph Curry's washed up. Steph Curry is no longer the 3-point specialist he used to be. His 3-point percentage is now 36% instead of 42% like it was last season. Steph's a bum. Whatever, these sorts of narratives on players that are all-time players that are still playing. Kevin Durant would be another one. Prolific scorer. He had an Achilles injury. Maybe he unfortunately has a short-term injury. Maybe there's something around these guys that caused them to miss some time. And when they miss the time, they're not playing, they're not scoring, they're not in the news. And prices, if prices sag based on that. We've seen a lot of guys where prices still hold up, based on their greatness, based on their kind of legendary status, they've held up. But if there is a dip, that's what I'm watching for, for particular players. In football, it's, I'll just throw out examples. Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. These guys are already proven. They're Super Bowl winners, most likely Hall of Famers. We know Tom Brady is, obviously. Rodgers, most likely. Russell Wilson, most likely. Hall of Famers. And so these are guys where if the team is awful, if the team is absolutely, maybe in football, injuries can ruin a season. You could literally have just a string of injuries and a team that was supposed to be first is down at the bottom, and so that's where I pay attention to football, because if there is expectations for a particular player team of great, guys that are great, and then you can also prospect on some of these newer guys as well. Absolutely. It's just all about where the price is with the prospects. Price point's everything. Price point is absolutely everything. So it's like nobody can judge if you're saying like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go after Joe Burrow cards, or I'm going to go after, Tua cards. I'm just throwing out names here. It all depends on the price point. If the card's $1 for Tua, well, then maybe you roll the dice on Tua at $1 for whatever that card is, even though Tua's, struggling. Those are the points. It's like bad news can be good news. If players are already proven, it's just helpful when the bad news brings prices down. And then also, again, when you're looking at data tools, you can also look at kind of history of some of these card prices. You can see like, okay, this price is down, but what is it compared to, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago? Okay, is it down? Is it down close to where it was 5 years ago? And then this player has done great things since then. These are things that you can think about as you're making purchases. These are all the things that I think about. With vintage cards, guys that are not playing anymore, what I do is I pay very close attention to particular cards and I watch auctions, because a lot of times this is where you can find the value. Is just that maybe there's a sag in the overall sports card market. People aren't paying attention to this particular auction, whatever the case may be. You're able to get prices under the recent comps or under historical comps or whatever, because you just caught an auction at the right time for vintage cards. And there's so many vintage cards out there that are great, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, so many rookie cards, and not even rookies, multiple, if you have the all timers, if you've got Bill Russell, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, these guys, they've got multiple cards to look at, not even just rookie cards, really, really cool cards, and so there's so many different cards out there. If you're patient, patience is absolutely critical with all this stuff, with any of it, but especially with vintage auctions as well. It's like the trouble with being patient is there are some cards, especially on the vintage side, they just don't come up very much. They just don't. You know, if I'm looking for a Bart Starr rookie card, particular grade, there's not thousands and thousands and thousands of these particular cards that are graded out there that I can choose from. So a lot of times if there's that auction that finally comes and it's like, oh man, there's 2 hours left and the price is actually, it's under comp, maybe it's way under comps, then of course you're going to be more apt to to bid, you know, and maybe go a little bit higher than you wanted to because you just don't know if you're going to see it. Maybe you haven't seen that card in 3 months or 2 months. Whereas if you're buying ultra modern stuff, it's always available. You know, there's a lot of stuff, unless you're getting, you know, scarce parallels, etc. A lot of that stuff is available if you're buying base stuff or maybe some of the colored stuff that you see often. So that's what we're talking about today, guys. Buying the rumor and selling the news. But be careful with the rumor. Sometimes people get ahead of it. Sometimes when the rumor hits, the buying spree starts. And so you're almost too late when the rumor starts. You know, and so anticipating the rumor of a trade or, you know, you just like a player overall, but for whatever reason, the prices are down. Those can be opportunities. But I'll tell you, the hobby is getting smarter too, where this isn't new news to anyone. A lot of people are already anticipating the rumor. So it's you know, it's tough. It's tough out there. A lot of the reason why I do stick a lot with vintage as of the last, you know, 6-9 months, I've been buying a lot more vintage than the modern, ultra modern stuff. But to each their own, there's fun no matter what you're buying, whether it be vintage, modern, ultra modern. I've got some of all of it and I enjoy buying and selling all of it. So guys, have an amazing day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Any tips, tricks that you deploy buying and selling sports cards. I think it's helpful. I hope this video was of help to somebody out there. Let me know in the comments. I appreciate you. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.